Yeah, no, it's not that
They
big.
don't make understand what they're using.
No. Yeah, we should probably send them to get that.
So when you know your secret, your children are already grown up.
My stepson is in college, but
Maybe that's it.
we don't have children. I like to say I have many children.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 3:01. Roll call.
Pat Rooney?
Here.
Bob Christensen?
Here.
Marcia Cox?
Here.
Mark Nixon?
Here.
Carrie Thompson?
Here. Can we stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like to do a call to the public. Are there any other forms needing to be turned in? Then Anne, and then Keith first.
Madam Chairperson and members of the board, I would like the trust members to look at the possibility of offering a health savings account versus the flexible spending account that we currently have. Currently, we can set aside, as a single person, $2,550 into this account. It's a use it or lose it account. And I was able to find out last year after a lot of searching that we can carry over $500 into the next plan year, but anything that you don't spend up to that, you lose. Last year, I put money away thinking that I would have some dental bills, and they came in less than what I thought, and on June 30th, I was frantically buying prescription glasses, sunscreen, first aid kits to try to use up that money, and I ended up losing about $80. While if we had a health savings account, we could still put that same amount in there. It would carry over from year to year. You can change how much you want to put into it during the course of the plan year. And with our deductibles going up, I just think it would be a better opportunity for us, to have that there instead of having to get rid of it. Thank you.
And Chrissy Lopez.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the EBT board today. As decisions regarding our benefits will be made today, I wanted to share my support and that of others for the LHUSD EBT Health and Wellness Center. During the last few years, my family has come to truly appreciate and depend on this benefit. It is my primary care location, but is also easily accessible for different kinds of care. This has made the decision of do I go to the doctor much easier, because I do not have to wonder if I can afford the copay. Yes, even one copay can make a huge difference in my budget. But in the end, but in the last 2+ years, it has allowed me, as well as my family, to get early care so that I have had to miss fewer days or none at times in the end. It is also the reason that my husband's heart attack was caught early before it was massive or even worse. Another example of its value to me as an employee, as well as the trust, is my most recent visit. As the Wellness Center is my primary care location, I went in for a yearly checkup. I addressed yearly women's issues, had blood work done, was given a physical, and through conversation it was decided to do a brief dermatology screening. As a result of that screening, a follow-up appointment was made. That was Friday. The follow-up was the next Monday. At that follow-up, some minor derm issues were addressed, and one was sent to the lab. We also discussed the results of my blood work while I was there on Monday, and I received a call with my derm results on Wednesday. Without the Wellness Center, this would have been 7 different appointments, dates and times, over a span of who knows how long. 7 different charges to the trust, and 3 co-pays that I would have had to come up with. Instead, this happened with 2 visits, 1 phone call, 2 outside charges to the trust, and all within 6 days. Being able to access care as well as referral to special services quickly is invaluable. I know many others who feel the same way as well. I have brought with me signatures of over 185 employees, and I'm waiting on more as we speak that are coming into this meeting. They were from different sites. These employees also support the Health and Wellness Center and want to see the services stay as they are. The heading on this reads, "We, the undersigned, support the LHUSD EBT Health and Wellness Center. We want to see continued services of primary care, urgent care, wellness, labs, chronic condition management, prescriptions, referrals, dermatology services, vaccinations, dependent care, and other currently provided services." I honestly believe that there are quite a few more staff members who would have signed. Like I said, I don't even have all of them here at this point. But time was limited and it had to be done on short notice. In closing, we feel that the Wellness Center has become an integral part of our benefit plan, and changes could cause a financial hardship on already struggling staff. Again, thank you for your time and consideration. I hope my sharing will give you a glimpse into the value of the Wellness Center to the trust and the district's employees. Thank you.
All right, we are going to approve the minutes from the meeting March 15th, 2017. Those were emailed to trustees. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, questions? I had several things on our list from last meeting that we were either going to move forward, or there was information not ready that we were going to table. And I was just wondering if any of those.
Are there specifics and then you want to address this in the agenda or not?
Well, the capital report wasn't complete, so we could, I guess we can talk about that today.
Yeah, Mike Connie's here to discuss it. That's on our agenda.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go through this and send you some information. I think we're probably going to cover most of it today.
And at the end of the meeting, there's always the future, and we have a meeting in 2 weeks, so I think it can be addressed. Something about that. Any other discussion?
Can I just ask that my name be added to the list of attendees because it was left on
Sure.
the minutes?
Absolutely. So Carrie, you want to call for a vote?
Al Christensen,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Mark Nixon,
Yes.
Pat Rooney,
Yes.
Carrie Thompson,
Yes. Next item on our agenda was the approval of the EBT audit report. Do you have any information at this time, or should we table it?
It's not ready because they're waiting for some additional information.
Do you think that will be ready when we get to, because it's only 2 weeks?
Yeah, I spoke to the auditors on, I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday. They're waiting to get some additional information regarding certain payments, because there were some that were not paid in 1 year and then caught up in another. So we're trying to figure out how much needs to be pushed back to 1 year. And since Dave has been out, he's not been able to respond. So as soon as they have that information, we got everything else done when it comes to fixed assets.
All right, then we will table this item for the May 17th meeting to see if that can be approved. I do have, the next item on the agenda is the health plan analysis. This was emailed to the trustees for review, but I thought I'd have it up here if there were specific questions, or we could look at specific parts. So at this time, are there any questions from the EBT trustees on part of the health plan analysis?
I had some questions on a couple of the items. It's the claims by type of service, and then the second is claims by type of service, but the 50,000 claims in excess of 50,000 have been removed.
On page 8?
Yeah.
So the high class claimer.
Yeah, so this one is the claims by type. Yeah. So what I noticed was this list, and then the next page, which is claims by type, same information, but we took out the $50,000 excess claims.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these have less than $50,000 difference. So I was wondering about that. And then the totals are different between each page. On, for example, the claims refunds, we have, on the first one, we have 88,000. It's not a big thing, but it's still, well, it's over $5,000. 88,000 and then 83,593. So there's a difference in the claims refund. And there wasn't any information on what that claims refund was for. Was it for subrogating claims, or was it for benefits that were denied or requested to be returned, that kind of thing?
Usually the claims refunds are going to be where we have gone over and reinsurance is paying for a portion of that. Why it would exclude it, I'm not sure. It just takes the large claims out in the second one.
Right, but the difference between the claims in and the large claims in and large claims out is about $900,000 it looks like, and the claims refund was $88,000. And then there's a difference, like I said, on some of the differences in the issued amount for current period are less than $50,000 per.
It can happen because in a large claim could fall into different categories. So when you take that one claim out, it might not be taking 50,000 out of one line item. So I think it would be good to kind of compare where and the type of service it was with a large claim. Up here, and try to see like where that's going to fit into your certain categories, because then that's where the breakdown would occur. We do have only the top claim, the first one that's gone over our reinsurance. The others have not yet at this time because they're specs right at 130. So that would be the only one that would have created that, the refund difference. But all 10, or these top 10 are over 50,000, so that would have been excluded from that second report.
Well, what you're saying is that it would be a combination of lab surgery.
Yeah, once you go in, like, like a cancer, there's going to be chemotherapy, a doctor, there's going to be hospitalization. There's going to be different charges, so then it falls into different categories on a different region.
And then all RX claims are taken out of this because
They filter through, they don't filter through the medical field part, they will filter through the MRI.
there seemed to be a really big change in labs under the Ghost Bar, 85% difference between last period and current period. And I'm assuming there's some kind of breakdown for that, why there's such a high amount.
All right, let's look, that would be claims by type of service. On page 8, is that what you want to look at? That's like page 8.
From labs.
Okay, so on labs, last year's prior period, we had 15,000 spent with labs. And at this point this year, that's at 26,000. Labs are gonna be kind of general. I don't know if that would necessarily tie to the high claims or not. That would have to be something Bill Barr could, address. Well, the prior period, they would use the same amount of time in the prior period. So comparison to see why the significant increase occurred.
I was just curious about that, just because of the, that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it looks like X-ray and labs are where we saw the most dramatic increase in inpatient surgery from the prior period. Currently, in this portion of the year, because we're not to the end of our plan year, medical is running lower than it was last year. So I guess, if anything, these numbers, that's a good sign. Last year we were at 2,200,000. We're right at 2 million at this point. So a little under, but at least the trend's not continuing upwards. So maybe we're going to start to see that figure come into play and some of our large things go down.
Do we typically see an increase in claims come in after the summer?
It cycles, but we do usually see a lot of like preventative and wellness type of charges come in over the summer because that's when people can plan to but we usually don't see that come into play until the next claim year. We usually see those claims come through in the first quarter of the next year. Any other questions from trustees? The audience? This report will be posted as our other meetings on the district website, so you can review any healthcare claims that come through to Gilsbar to kind of see where our costs lie. All right, next on the agenda was the dental plan analysis. So I'll put up that first main page up here, just to kind of show where our costs are. This report does show a date range of April 1st, 2016 to March 31st, 2017, so a year in time. Total claims that have been submitted were 400,000. The total claims paid out by the trust was 206. This spreadsheet is kind of a nice spreadsheet to see exactly what our PPO savings by carrying emeritus is, claims savings, and then how it breaks up in a cost share with the employee. So this one kind of breaks it down so you can see what portion is being paid by the trust and what portion by the member. Did I have any questions from trustees on the dental report? Those were my only two updates that needs to be took up. And again, the emeritus report will be posted on the district website with today's meeting. So it can be reviewed by employees or community members. All right, and then we are to the review or approve the CFAR. So, Mike, can I turn this over to you?
You may. Thank you, Madam Chair. What is conspicuously absent from your packets and information today is the CFAR report. That's because I did not complete it, and there are several reasons why it's not complete. You may recall from last month's meeting that there was discussion on whether to continue with the CFAR report that you've always been receiving versus transitioning to a compiled financial statement. And I believe that the decision was made to transition to compiled financial statements. Part of that process is determining that the beginning balances at the fiscal year, July 1, are accurate. I'm unable to do that until I have the final approved audit part of that discussion again we already had today. So the bottom line is, no, I have not completed it. I will be working on it. I have been working on it. I have received from Trustee Nexon the depreciation schedule. Thank you. I assume that there are no more adjustments to that, but those numbers are accurate, and I will move forward with at least that. The other issue that I want to inform the trustees of is the fact that creating and compiling those compiled financial statements requires entering each and every transaction from the beginning of the fiscal year to the current period that we're reporting on. In this case, it would be 9 months worth of activity. That's a lot of transactions. I'm not indicating that I'm not willing to do it. I'm not indicating that I'm not willing to do it under the agreed upon fee. I will do that. It's just going to take much more time than I anticipated when the discussion was, let's prepare the CFAR report on that at the trustee meetings, and I was okay with that as well, obviously. I will honor that agreement. I will get those financial statements complete through whatever period you so decide, unless the trustees choose otherwise. One option is to continue with the CFAR report through the end of your fiscal year, which is 2 months away now, 3 months reporting, and start anew with July 1. And I will leave that to your discretion. I'm open to do whatever you want. I don't want to put forth the time and effort and resources to compile those financial statements through March 31, and obviously April, May, and June, if that's not the desire of the board. Personally, I believe you should have more detailed information, and that information will be available in the compiled financial statements. I believe that it's more meaningful, and as I indicated, I'm more than willing to do that. It just isn't going to happen like within a week or two. It's just going to take much more time than that. If I had to estimate based on the information, and I want everyone in the room to know that the information has flowed in a timely manner from the district and from the staff. I'm very appreciative of that. My understanding was the May meeting was canceled.
No.
No, we are having a meeting in 2 weeks.
Yes.
It won't be done in 2 weeks. I can assure you of that. There's just not enough time to be able to record all of those transactions from July 1 through March 31 in a 2-week period. I make no excuses, but I do apologize. It's just nearly impossible to be able to do that in a 2-week time period. I can make the commitment by the end of May that it would be complete through March 31, conditioned on the fact that the audit is finally approved and I have good beginning numbers, and the auditor is going to share those work papers with me so that I can verify, not verify, but at least have some assurance on my end that those numbers are good beginning numbers. So we have accurate financial statements going forward.
Okay, so our summer meeting is scheduled for June 21st. So
I'll get have it by June 21. Certainly, and I would feel much more comfortable with a June 21 deadline versus May 31, quite frankly, if that's okay with the board.
Well, we would, if it is okay with you, I would like to set a date a little bit prior to that. So
1 week
the
prior
trustees
to,
could-
so you have
yeah, so the trustees could review.
Absolutely. 1 week prior to, so you can have it on advance, absolutely. And by doing so, it gives me a deadline, and I'm sort of familiar with deadlines. I know a little bit better when I know I have a deadline on it, and make sure it gets done. Unless there's any questions.
I do have a question on, can you just kind of report to us where our balances currently are?
Had I brought that with me, I'd be happy to, but unfortunately I did not. So I can email it to you, if that's permissible. And I will do that. I am not going to stay for the entire meeting. I don't believe there's anything here that applies to me or what I'm going to be doing. So when I get back to the office, I will email it to all of you. Or I will email it to Mr. Murray, and he can email it to me.
Sure.
I don't believe I have Earl's email address, and it's probably appropriate to email it to Mr. Murray. But I can send it to you. Okay?
And maybe on just a follow-up, then if I could ask Mike, would it be possible then to, because I didn't bring it with me, share what the final balance was on the last Morgan Stanley report, so the trustees can have an idea where our balance is comparative to where we started the year?
I can go get that. Oh, yeah.
Mike, just so you're aware of what's going on with the final audit numbers, when they did the detail that everybody wanted last time on that one additional schedule, and the center amount came up a couple of $100,000 more than the contractual amount, I asked, okay, well, what else was in there? And what I was trying to explain earlier is that it looked like that some payments have been skipped in 1 year and caught them up in another. So now they've got to go back and make some accruals
Okay.
and get it back into a prior year so that the numbers will true up this year. So that's what, and then they're waiting for, you know, how many of those payments actually occurred, and was there anything else?
Yes, and none of those payments in question were for any of the fixed assets. Okay, that was all equipment and paid for other expenses for that. Okay.
Yeah, no, they just, had a cutoff for sure.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mike? Any questions in the audience?
Carrie, just to clarify, so are we gonna do the July, or are you doing, what's the calendar?
Our fiscal year is gonna run from July 1st to June 30th.
Are we still in that? Or, I mean, I just remember from budget meeting last year, and we were told that it was changing. And then we said, I mean, no one would.
Well, we changed our deductible.
Okay.
Last year, we changed it to run from July 1st to June 30th. We will be continuing with that.
Before that, we were January. Was that
Yes,
right? Okay.
January 1.
I just the change, so
It's
they're gonna be
changed
both, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that aligns with when we bid out our services.
Great, okay, great.
Oh, nice back. Nice one, Marty. Got two.
All right, so we have two Morgan Stanley accounts, ending balance as of the 31st of March. And one of the accounts, one of the cash accounts, that's a cash account, money market account, 1.1 million, $1,119,758.79. And then the other account, which is a combination of both cash / money market and an investment for CDs, certificates of deposits, that is $2,733,396.96. Roughly half of that is in cash and money markets, and the other half is in CDs, and certificates.
Perfect, thank you.
That's the numbers you were asking me to get to you, so you already have them, so I don't need to. You already asked them.
That would be fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you again for your patience. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, we're gonna move to, section 3, our items for discussion and possible action. The first one under 3.1 is to review and approve the EBT trustee contact list for publication on the DO website. We currently have contact information for our school board members, and we wanted to update the information on the website for the EBT board of trustees. So you each have a copy. And I just wanted to make sure that was correct contact information and it was okay to post. So do we have a motion to post that information?
So moved.
Second.
Terry?
Marcia Cox?
Yes.
Mark Nixon?
Here. Yes.
Yes, and you're Pat Rudy?
Yes, yes.
Al Christensen?
Yes.
Carrie Thompson?
Yes. So we will get that posted shortly with our contacts. All right, secondly, in 3.2, we would like to discuss and move for action on changing the official address of the EBT to the district office. So all information is sent to this address. Do I have any discussion?
Where's your current center now? Where's it going out?
Most is being sent to the district office, but some things were being received by Dave So we just want to centralize all the information to this location. And then it can be documented.
Need a motion?
Then, yes, we can do a motion.
I'll make a motion. Approve it as presented.
Any other further discussion?
Discussion, just to clarify that the address is going to be the 2200 G-Way Boulevard here.
Have supervisors.
Or have supervisors.
Yes, it'll be A.
All those Indian names keep running.
Well, I started with Krasnowski. But, and then who will,
Building C.
to whose attention will it go?
I would think it would go to Mr. Murray's attention.
I would recommend just putting attention business office or director of business services, so that way, we're not changing this every 10, 15, 20 years or whatever.
Where I was going with that one.
It's 10 to 15.
I'm like, dying.
No right way to answer that for,
Yeah, well.
so far, so good.
Yeah.
Much further safety.
Mark Nixon,
Yes.
Pat Rooney, Paul Christensen,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Gary Thompson.
Yes. All right, we're going to move to the history and review of the Cerner contract. So first, I just wanted to bring the trustees' attention to the items that you should have in your packet, so that we know there should be a copy of the Cerner contract and a well-organized spreadsheet that was put together for our meeting. And I am, I'm told the directions on how to do this. I'm going to call Dave Stewart in at this time so he can be in on the conversation.
Are everybody's mics on? Because it's hard to hear all of them. Are your mics on?
I don't think anybody's
Will you turn it on?
Mine's probably not on, I just have a loud transcript voice.
Yours is on.
Hi, Dave, one moment. Can you hear us?
Hi Dave, this is Terry Thompson.
Hi, Carrie.
Currently, in the agenda, okay, we are right now at 3.3, history and review of the Cerner contract. My trustees have a copy of the Cerner contract itself and a spreadsheet of how historically the charges and payments have been from Cerner. So if you want to kind of go over the history of the agreement with the trustees, you could start.
Okay. As you know, I just recently received this Excel worksheet with regard to dates and types of services, etc. And at this point, I have no comment on that document since I was not involved in preparing it and have not had a chance to review it for its accuracy. And based on comments listed in therein, I do have no comment on it at this time. With regard to the document itself, back in 2011, after the trustees sought bids from about 11 or 12 vendors that were offering on-site clinics, we narrowed it down, the trustees now narrowed it down to 3 vendors. We had those 3 vendors, which included the hospital there in Havasu, come in and make a presentation to the trust. Based on that presentation, the trustees decided to elect Cerner and award the contract to Cerner. Over the next few months, prior center where it is now to make it into a very nice on-site or air-side clinic for the members. The initial proposal that came in from Cerner did not include a medical doctor, and at least one or two of the trustees, including Missy Wood, were pretty adamant, and Colleen Pankow were pretty adamant that we needed a doctor. And so we went back to Cerner and said, okay, the trustees would like to have a doctor added to the contract. So a search went out to find a doctor. If you recall, one of the nurse practitioners that was contemplated to be hired there to run the center, Sharon, had a friend, doctor friend down in Tucson that she had worked with in the past, and that friend put in a proposal to Cerner. Cerner vetted the doctor, and she was ultimately put in the mix, which there again increased the cost to the trust because they were adding a physician, and also included some travel expenses for her to travel back and forth between Tucson and Havasu, since she would not take permanent residence there in Havasu, and she was only part-time. Then over the course of the next few years, ads and deletions, etc. Sharon left, we had to find a new individual. All those kinds of things kind of went back and forth as far as the contracts were concerned. And again, I make no comment because I haven't had a chance to review all this with regard to the Excel worksheet that was put together. Just kind of getting into the history of the agreement itself and how it was constructed. The part of the mobilization fee, which included the equipment that went into the building, and the chairs and the exam room chairs and all those medical pieces of medical equipment that went in there. That was ultimately ordered and was installed. And the trust opened the center in May of 2012. Any other questions?
Dave, Hal Christensen, I just haven't had a chance to really dig into this, but well, Cerner gives us a contract, and I was just looking at, initially, we're going to pay them $35,000 a month, and a doctor is going to be $85 a month, and the nurse is going to be straight time, $85 an hour, $37 an hour. That was, I guess, when they first proposed this in December, and then a few months later, there's an amendment. Now it says it's $45,000 a month instead of $35. The doctor is $150 instead of $85, and the nurse is $46 instead of $37. What changed in that short period of time to create that amendment?
How I don't know, again, without going back and looking at transactional data between Cerner and the trust. I can go back. It'll take me some time to go back and review all that, but I try to keep copious records of all the transactions that were made. I do know that, again, as we do the initial agreement or the initial proposals from any of the companies, did not have a physician in the mix. But several people were very adamant about having a physician in the mix. And so we went back to Cerner and asked to add a physician.
Well, but on the original contract, they have a supervising medical doctor. Is it because they didn't have anybody, and then when they found somebody, it was going to cost more? That's why it went to $150?
No, the supervising medical director was Dr. Ross Miller, and he is the supervising medical director for all of Cerner as far as their clinics are concerned.
Okay,
That was
I
always
know,
there. It was an on-site position.
I know it's semantics, but it says, okay, I know it's semantics, but here it says supervising medical doctor, not director. So is that a misstatement? Still, regardless of what it is, it still went from $85 to $150 in a couple of months, and I'm just curious why.
Well, if I might.
Now, from my understanding, when they say supervising medical doctor, it was Dr. Rossmiller who was their supervisor for all the Cerner clinics. It wasn't an on-site medical doctor that becomes certain members of the trust.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dave, I believe that's correct. And this is going back almost 6 years, but what I remember is he was the the supervising director, but he was located and worked for Cerner, which is very much different than having somebody on site. And then I believe that after a while, everyone said, well, we want somebody on site. So then they had to go find this Tucson person.
Dr. Ross Miller worked for Cerner, that is correct. Barton, that is correct. He worked for Cerner as a supervising physician, and he would be available to all the centers if they had any medical questions coming from the nurse practitioners. But the trustees, at the point of starting this, really felt compelled or necessary to have a doctor on site. And so that doctor was contracted and was working over 20 hours a month at the center and was traveling from Tucson to do so.
So is that one of the reasons why the other part went from 35,000 to 45,000? Or is that something completely?
That's part of it, yes.
I have a question.
A lot of the centers, the size of Havasu, usually don't start out with a physician. They start out with nurse practitioners, but the trustees felt, as I recall, and hopefully Carrie and Mark can support that, is they wanted an MD available. They felt like it would be more acceptable by covered members to have an MD on site. And so that's the reason why we went back and negotiated with Cerner.
Yeah, I think that, Dave, what you just said was the reason they went back is because the covered members were more comfortable, at least initially, if there was an MD on site. And so that's why they ended up going and trying to find that. And I believe that took them a few months, and that's why the cost of doing business went up.
Dave, I don't know if you can clarify this exactly right now also, but I think part of the increase too was we increased the number of hours the center was open. So it was more available for after school hours to teachers. Do you remember if that was part?
That's correct. Again, the initial proposal, again, I'm not sure. I don't think at that time Cerner had any public instrumentalities, or especially school districts, that they were doing business with. And so, to accommodate the staff at the school system, teachers find it difficult to be in the middle of class and go see a doctor. And so we wanted to have early morning hours, late hours, and even increase the hours to include Saturday, half-day Saturday. And so we also increased the hours, Terry, and you're absolutely right. Because you think of a normal doctor's office running roughly 40 hours a week, whereas we're at 51 hours a week. So, yeah, there was some increased cost associated with that as well.
Marcia did have a question, so I'm going to let her address you.
Hi, Dave. Couple questions on the original agreement, which is that Exhibit E, which is the original compensation, and has the supervising medical doctor, nurse practitioner. Can you tell me what page a medical director from Cerner is identified, and that would be included in the monthly management fee? Because according to this,
No, I can't.
Okay,
Not without looking at the document,
okay.
and reviewing it, and taking the time to do it off the top of my head, I can't.
Marcia, he just, when I was asking, he said, Dave was saying supervising medical director, and I think maybe that,
No, I understand, but my question is that this, because the medical director and supervising doctor are very different.
Very
and
different, okay.
This doctor is actually identified in other amendments as specific amounts of time that is going to be available on site. And medical director, and which is widely and, accepted all over the country, that you have a medical director, perhaps, I think Cerner's in Missouri, so maybe that's where he might be housed. But if they went and hired the physician from Tucson, I know that the original agreement had that we were going to pay mileage and whatnot, and also his fees, and he was going to be limited to a certain amount of time, or his obligation would be a certain amount of time that he was going to be in-house 3 days a month. And then I think there were 3 10-hour days a month, and then a certain amount of time by phone. But on the first amendment, we also added $40,000 for a flat travel amount, and I think we shared that between us and Cerner. But again, this supervising medical doctor and the medical director would be specifically identified as 2 different people in an agreement. So it'd be nice to be able to find out. Maybe Dave, you can find that out from Cerner.
Sure.
Where is that?
I know initially, thanks for the question, Marcia, initially, the supervising, the way I'm looking at it, of course I could be wrong, but the way I'm looking at it is the supervising medical director, in this case, Dr. Ross Miller, who initially attended many of our meetings, was there or was on the phone at our meetings and attended those meetings. That was included in the CERN's contract at no additional cost, because he was the supervising director or medical director for all the centers across the United States that CERN had. I don't know if they've separated that out and then called other supervising medical directors, but I do know that at the time, since he lived in California, he was assigned to this particular center by CERN, and he's still available. In fact, I know on a number of occasions when I've had questions surface about this, that, or the other, Chrissy will have access to call him and ask. So we've talked about prescription drugs. We've talked about adding prescription drugs to the center that we normally didn't, or we didn't have before. And I know that she would go check with Dr. Ross Miller and say, is this something we want to add, or do you think it's necessary? And he would give his yay or nay as far as adding a drug or adding a service or giving medical supervision to the nurses there at the clinic.
Right, but I think what I heard you say was that he would have been no additional cost.
That's correct.
And so I guess maybe we could find out where that is in this agreement, because and maybe I misunderstood you, because I thought I heard you also say that on amendment number 1, part of the reason for the increase was because we had now not only a medical
The only additional cost we had for an MD is when they hired Donna, I apologize, I remember her last name.
Woods.
Donna Wood, when they hired Donna Wood from Tucson, the dam started to come up, spend 20 or more hours a month at the center.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could ask a very pointed question, what's the point of this conversation?
The point of the conversation was that we had reached out to Cerner for possible renegotiation of prices for this next current year. So maybe Dave, can you give us an update on when you approached Cerner with renegotiation of our contract?
You asked me that question a few weeks ago. I reached out to Cerner and said, is there any way we can have a discussion with regard to renegotiating the contract? And at this point, and hope springs eternal, but at this point, the answer has been no.
So currently, and the point of having the contract in front of us is to kind of look at timelines and see what also we were contracted with. So Am I correct, Dave, in saying we're contracted through 2020?
Correct.
And also on the last page of our contract, that would mean currently our monthly management fee is $52,353. Does that sound accurate?
Correct. And there is within the contract, there is a maximum, this is where we could maybe put the thumb on Cerner. There is a maximum increase of 5% each contract year. And we could I'm more than happy to put the thumb as hard as I can on keeping that escalation clause out of there. I'm not sure, but if we rattle the cage enough, etc., then perhaps we can do that. I'm not opposed to that at all. I want to save money anytime we can save money. But that was part of the contract, is that escalation fee of no more than 5%.
Also, could, maybe in our discussion too, Dave, can you clarify for the trustees, when we did make an amendment to the contract, that was for either change of staffing or change of hours?
The only amendments we've made to the contract, to the best of my knowledge, is for changing of staff.
Okay.
Because Donna left, and we needed to fill some holes, and we felt like we needed to fill some holes there, with her 20 hours no longer being available as far as seeing patients or consulting with former patients or patients that she was already seeing. And she was doing a lot of consulting with regard to weight loss. That was one of her specialties. And so she was doing a lot with some of the patients that sought weight loss. And so she was seeing those every time she would come up or whenever it was necessary to see that patient, she was seeing those individuals. But she also was seeing other individuals as well, so she was part of staff in treating the members of the trust. So when we terminated her contract, they decided they wanted to at least bring in another part-time person. And then also during WOW, when it got so busy there, they also wanted to be able to have some flexibility of putting in a part-time individual to help out with WOW so that they can continue to do the primary care visits for the membership and not denigrate the service to the members by keeping them in the center any longer than they had to. So they reached out and hired some part-time folks as well. But the biggest change had to do with personnel as opposed to hours. I don't think we've ever deviated away from the 51 hours a week.
Okay, so since 2011, we have been at the 51 hours per week. We think.
Correct.
And is that 51 hours for everybody that works there? So you've got automatically 11 hours of overtime? Or is it a crossover with, you have 2 nurse practitioners, 2 okay.
I don't understand the question, Marcia.
That's okay.
She was asking if all employees at the center work 51 hours a week, or if it was kind of a crossover. And I said, yeah. So their schedules
No,
are
the center is open 51 hours a week. However, they staff it. It's up to center.
For 40 hours. And then, Madam Chair, I have a question on, I know that in the original agreement on EBT, that 5% increase, I guess when I was kind of looking at the original dollars and all of the Amendment 4, it seemed like it had gone up a lot more than 5% a year. So, you know.
Well, and on the surface, you're absolutely correct, Marcia. But you probably weren't factoring in to hire the doctor either.
That's why we're asking questions.
But if you, I don't know who made the schedule, but if you just look at year to year, it's 5% or less. But you gotta remember, this contract's been in place now for 6 years. So you take 1.05 and multiply by 1.05 every year, guess what? It's a bigger number. I guess really, if I may, Madam Chair, I'm trying to figure out the point of this conversation, because we can look at old data all night long. But the point is that I think it was because we wanted to renegotiate. But what I just heard is that they're not willing to renegotiate. So we have one of two choices. Live with what we got, or we break the contract and still pay $50,000 a month for the next 3 years and get nothing for it. I don't know why we're having this conversation.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, I would say that part of the reason why we're having this conversation is because these questions have been asked for the last 8 months and we haven't gotten the answer. And the last thing that happened with this particular agreement was that it was discovered that it was signed and we have no records of anything in the minutes having any discussion over.
Correct, but none of that will either change the renegotiation. I mean, it really, let's get down to the brass tacks. We don't just spend hours and hours and hours of past history. We're either going forward with this contract or we're going to break it and pay the money for nothing. Which do you choose? That's what this conversation should be all about. Get done with it, let's move on.
I do have a question. Under this contract, if the board were to decide, the trustees were to decide that they no longer insist upon a doctor, are we now forced, because it's in the contract, that we must have a doctor?
We don't have.
We don't have, so that's what the amendments were for, is the change of staffing. So we currently are staffed with 2 nurse practitioners and 2 medical assistants.
Okay, all right. Thank you for
Correct.
Nicole?
My question on the agreement is under Exhibit G, and that's where we're supposed to be able to tell whether or not the center is successful, and that's been a question for me. Not that it's not liked and people don't like it, it's whether or not it's prudent as fiduciaries, whether we're getting the information that it in fact is successful. So my question is around Exhibit G, because to me these performance metrics don't mean anything. Patient satisfaction exceeds 4.7 out of 5. To me, that has nothing to do with whether or not the outcomes are successful. I watch the PowerPoints that they bring every quarter, where they talk about the number of people that are going and the patient surveys. I don't know what the questions are though. And if anybody's going to be happy only waiting 3 minutes for, to see a doctor in Lake Havasu. The volume achievement, I don't see what that has to do. To me, that just kind of reiterates why we were forcing people to go there under threat of penalty, so that we could drive the numbers up. Management reporting, accurate and timely delivery of all management reports. None of this has to do with changing the health culture in our district. So I'm wondering how it is that we determine whether or not the center is being successful. And I guess I don't see that anywhere in the contract. That's my question about the contract. Because I do want to get down to brass tacks, Mr. Nixon. But I don't know what we're supposed to be looking at. And we're in it. It was signed last year, a 3-year renewal.
What would you see? What would you look at to determine that? What would you hope to look at?
I would say if people were getting healthier or things were changing medically, I mean, it's a health and wellness center. So we should.
Well, we do compare our cohort group, and that is reported each time, so that group has been reported healthier. The issue, though, that comes up with that is that we have such high turnover. That cohort group is getting smaller and smaller, and if you're looking at whether our whole population is getting healthier or not, well, 20 to 30% are new every year.
But I looked at those cohort groups 3 years in a row, And they simply maintained. They were already healthy. It's not that they got healthier, they just maintained, but that's because they were already healthy people. That's not improving the health. We still are having the same issues that we had when we opened the center.
Well, I think we can ask Cerner to clearly define success criteria.
I would like to see that.
Was that the same? Because as she said, the cohorts changed, right? Is that just the people who started?
Just the people who started, that are still here.
But I also do want to mention in here, I do think patient satisfaction and those things are important for the success of the center, because ultimately you want those using the center to be happy with using the center and confident in the visit. So not just always did we improve the health of a condition, but also is it meeting the needs of our clientele? Because I would still want that definitely and satisfaction included, because we need to be happy with the staffing of the center and with the quality of care. And I think that's measured on there. So it could be part of that.
It is measured on there.
I guess if we saw what the questions were, that would be easier to understand, but I have no idea what those are.
I think that would be a good thing, Dave, for you to take to Cerner, is to have them help clearly define what the success criteria is, and let them know that we do want to tie that into that 5% increase. If they're not meeting success criteria, then we shouldn't see that increase year by year.
I think that's excellent. I have no problem with that at all. Put the holder of vendor's feet to the fire, no question about it. But that's a point we want to focus in on. Hey, that's a great idea.
Could you clarify, Dave, for me, when is it? Is it July 1st that management fees changed each year?
No, it's May 1.
May 1, okay. So that's good for us to kind of follow that timeline too, so we know when that would be coming up.
Yeah.
And what again are the management fees? That's
It's the 52,000 and change we're paying now,
the staff?
and if they get their 5% increase, or up to 5% increase, it'll go up 52, it'll go to 53 and change.
Right, but what does that number consist of besides the salaries? Because if I think the salaries are somewhere around half of that.
Well, I gotta believe Marsh gets all their expenses. They pay health insurance for their employees, they pay vacation time, they pay workers' compensation, they pay all those things the same as everybody else does. So that the cost of having employees goes up, so that's part of the increase.
Well, I think it would just be informative for us to see what that is, because again, if the salaries are only about half of that.
Well, but this is confidential information.
Okay.
They don't have to disclose what they pay their employees.
I'm not asking to.
They're not going to give us what they pay their employees.
I don't, and I wasn't asking for that. All I wanted to know was what expenses that management fee contains.
Well, it does contain also reporting to us, right, the portal of the website,
And by the way,
supervising director.
if you will, permit me for a second. I want to come back and talk about the fact that when we initially started this hunt 8 years ago, and we went to Cerner and kicked the tires, and they were showing us all the things that they do, not only for just the regular primary care and the urgent care and non-life-threatening, limb-threatening emergency care and some of those kinds of things. They kind of showed us around their wellness, some of their wellness stuff too. I made sure that they threw in the wellness program with this at no additional cost. Because they charge for, they sell a wellness program platform all by itself. In other words, you can go to Cerner and say, I just want your wellness program. I don't want your primary care, I don't want your on-site stuff. I just want you to sell us a wellness program. And they do. They have hundreds of clients that they sell just wellness to. Not an on-site clinic, not primary care, none of that. But I insisted that they were going to get this deal So they did.
Well, I guess effort in this is to make sure, I mean, we have a responsibility on this board to make sure that the dollars that we are given to make available, you know, that we're given to pay for all of the benefits that we can possibly get for, you know, the employees in the district, that there's.
Which I've been doing that for 50 years of my life.
I'm not finished, Dave, so why don't you let me finish? But it's a responsibility to us to ask questions, and I don't think that you should take offense to them, because you have been doing it for 50 years of your life. And so if we have, I mean, we need to make sure that we're spending this money wisely. We have to be responsible for it, and if the costs continue to go up, it's a good question to ask why the costs are going up.
I don't disagree with that at all. But believe me, anytime a cost goes up, I ask why.
Well, and when I ask you questions, I don't get answers, so that's why we're having this conversation today, part of it.
All right, well, can we bring this back around to Mark's point right here? I guess as far as now that the trustees have looked at the contract, seen it through 2020, and Cerner has said they don't want to renegotiate that. Do we want to hold firm to our contract?
And I will promise to do all I can to ask them to not increase this next year.
Yes, and I think part of that needs to be that we will go to them with clearly defining success criteria, and providing proof of that if we're going to see that 5% increase.
Okay.
Carrie, can I ask you a question? He's mentioning like, you know, they want all the staff to be our primary care provider, right? And we list that. Do you realize that our hospital will not recognize them as a primary care provider? I've had an issue of a person at our school whose husband had to be hospitalized, and they would not recognize them as a provider. And also when they have home health care they needed after the hospital stay, would not recognize our wellness center as a provider. So we're having some issues with that.
Did they give reasoning? Because maybe that's something we can definitely address.
And being pushed that to have them be our primary care, but then they're not being recognized. That's certain, I don't know.
Well, that would be the hospital, not sending it over. So we would need to address the hospital.
But just the hospital.
It might be Yale's bar too, because they're the ones that are negotiating this contract.
No, but primary care, they would be sending medical information over. So that would be, we would need to get in contact with the hospital. Do you want to add anything to that, or?
We've asked time and again through the physician relations person for our names to be put on the list as primary care providers so that we get notes back from hospital visits or from the emergency room, and maybe 1 out of 5 times, I mean, rarely does it happen. It's an issue with LifePoint. The thing about home health has to do with the laws regarding who can sign that 485 form to admit a patient into home health, and it must be a physician. It cannot be a nurse practitioner. Nurse practitioners can legally sign subsequent orders, but they can't do the admission and maybe not the discharge. So there's a little bit of a legal ease about the home health, but as far as things from the hospital, it's dealing with LifePoint. That's my opinion.
And is it possible for us to contact Cerner and see if there's a way a physician can oversee that or not? No.
For the home health?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be local though?
Yeah, does that?
We could find out.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So maybe that's something that we could definitely.
I don't know if they have to be licensed within the state, because
Okay.
Dr. Miller is not licensed within Arizona, so that would
We'd
be,
have to find out.
that'd be a legalese question.
Okay.
Yes.
So the question is whether or not in the state of Arizona, I think supervising providers they're quote supervising providers because they're overseeing the medical records and the practices of the nurse practitioner. But if you are going to admit someone for home health, I would expect that it would be a face-to-face assessment by that medical doctor, signing those documents to 45 to admit, and then the subsequent obviously could be done, with a nurse practitioner. But I'm not sure that that can be done remotely.
We'll just check and see if we can get an answer on that.
Last question.
Yep.
So at our last meeting, it was brought up that now that it's been open for 5 years, that we would determine whether or not it saved us money. And I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but I would like to know what the center is truly costing us.
Okay, we did ask that. So Dave, it was asked that we do a 5-year review, and we were looking at, and I forgot his name. Was it Mike LaValle? Maybe who did it first?
Mike LaPena.
LaPena. Is that something that can be presented to us at the June meeting?
I will reach out to Mike LaPena and see what that's all about, and if there's a charge for it, and let you all know.
And what, I guess I'd like to know what the measures are going to be that determine whether or not. Because right now, and I think Dave, you agreed to this the last meeting, and I brought it up last year, was that return on investment is kind of a non-issue because it's not a well accepted way of determining things because it's a return on, it's an estimate. And
I don't know, and Marcia, I hear what you're saying, and I understand, and I agree to a certain extent. We still need to look at ROI, we really do. And I would hope we would have an ROI. But what I'm seeing in the marketplace from a number of these organizations, the Toyotas and the GMs and all those that have installed worksite clinics for their employees, anywhere from 100 employees all the way up to thousands of employees. A lot of those people have kind of, while they initially started with the ROI concept, have gravitated to not only the ROI, and they want to obviously make money, or save money, I should say, but that they also want to see the value of investment and the retention that they get from their employees, the happiness of their employees, the well-being of their employees has become more important, it seems, from all the material that I read, than the ROI. So while we definitely don't want to just shun ROI, we want to also bring in the VOI value of investment as well.
And I think maybe when you reached out with Mr. LaPena, couldn't he tell us measures that he would use
Well,
to verify that?
well, Dave, what I recall, and again, it was quite a while ago, but that he came up with certain measures at the time, coming up with why he thought we would save $900,000 over whatever period of time it was. So all I really want to see is, okay, now you've got history, stack those up against what you thought it was going to be to save the 900, and where are we at?
You bet. And I can certainly ask him that. Again, I want to make sure that, I mean, he's an independent actuary consultant, and I'm sure he's got his fees to take care of, so that's what it's going to cost to do that study. The initial study cost us a little over $10,000, so I will ask him, and then I'll submit it out to the trustees for their comments.
Okay. All right, so I don't know that we need a motion to change anything.
I don't think so.
So, do we want to close this agenda item? Move on?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, then we're going to move to 3.4, which is to review and approve changes to the RFP for the EBT consultant. So in front of you in your packet was a request for proposal that we had submitted at a previous EBT meeting, but then when we added 2 new trustees to the board, Mark and Marcia, I sent this back out for changes, and there were some revisions made which are redlined in this copy. And Mr. Murray has asked us to go back and review changes that are included on here and make sure it's how we want before he submits that out.
Carrie, the one that she said he didn't have any red lines to it, so I was trying to go through the document.
Yes, I apologize, maybe, Marcia, do you want to speak to any of the edits on here, because it would have been you and Mark? Because we had previously, Hal had made some changes, or we had submitted a few at our previous meeting, so maybe you can address them.
Well, I think these are probably all ones, I'm not sure, Mark, if you added anything. I know I had added a few things that I had gone back and looked at similar RFPs for brokered RFPs and added a few items, just that I thought were prudent to include. So I guess it would just be a matter of everybody reading them and seeing whether or not they agree.
Well, let me, if I might, one of the items in here, and I assume you're referring to the consultant broker, says, if selected, consultant broker will be able to review and document how the trust has operated in the past to either look for irregularities or to just gauge how costs are different. What does that mean? You're not fraud experts.
I think that most brokers that work in the self-funded groups like ours have some experience in seeing if there's something irregular or different in past history of different agreements and can make some recommendations on how those can be remedied or changed.
Well, an irregularity relates to fraud. So you're asking me to look for fraud?
No, maybe I used the wrong word. What would you suggest?
I don't think I have that in there. I mean, I don't know what the point of that is.
Well, this, we just got this today, right?
Right.
So, and we've got a meeting in 2 weeks. So can we take these with us and then maybe, you know? Yeah.
The only thing I want to comment on that, how if we do, we still need to give Mr. Murray time to send out the RFP and get those responses back so they can be reviewed by the board.
Give us till next Monday. That's tomorrow and the weekend, look at it. And then just.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at this quickly, some of these are just questions. So I don't know that they should even be in this stuff.
Well, I sent my questions to, I think, Mr. Murray, and I wasn't aware that the questions that I had asked were going to be included in this. So
yeah,
I didn't have any.
Because obviously you don't want to send out a.
No.
With some of these
well,
questions.
yeah, this would need to be.
Right. So again, there's questions in here that obviously wouldn't be part of an RFP, but this is the only document I had, and the only way I could make the questions. So.
Well, did you come up with all these questions, or did Mike come up with something?
I did. Anything that
So
was.
this is, all this red line is your product?
I haven't looked at this document, but I would suspect that it probably.
But we could look at it and then communicate amongst ourselves with Mr. Murray by Monday.
Not amongst ourselves.
Or not, yeah.
No.
I still haven't watched that 45 minutes.
I watched it twice.
Let's let Mr. Murray comment.
I would recommend that if we can review this over the next 2 weeks and come back in 2 weeks when we have another meeting and then actually formally approve it, and then I can go ahead and move forward on my end. That way it allows you to make changes or other recommendations and then formally discuss it in 2 weeks. Well, we should have plenty of time. It's still mid-May.
So you were working off the initial document with this?
That was originally sent to me, and then there was some adding to it, some additions and some deletions, some red lines, and then that's when I pushed it back to Carrie, just so that she could actually bring this back to the trustees and actually have you all review it, and then make input.
And I guess the other thing is I'm sure other other entities are doing the same type of thing, and we sort of check to see how this compares to either other school districts or other people at these wellness centers, so that, I mean, just like Mark mentioned, you know, all of a sudden you start putting certain stuff in there, and then what I'm saying is if other people submitted similar stuff, wouldn't it be prudent to go ahead and examine that, and it would give us at least a place to proceed from?
Yes, there would be some templates out there,
Yeah,
boilerplates, if you will, we can look at.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, all of a sudden you get something like this, and you start messing with it, and just like Mark said, people get it and they say, "Where's this coming from?" And that's, I feel a lot more comfortable with that.
Yeah, when a document like this comes to me directly,
Yeah.
I think it's my responsibility to push it back to the president to allow these conversations to be had by all 5 of you instead of one of them.
The original document came from the National Association of Health Underwriters, and then I kind of customized it for Lake Havasu Unified School District, and the fact that they have a center up and running. So it's got good boilerplate material to it, based on the National Association of Health Underwriters RFP guidelines.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But since we don't have it in front of us, can you explain what document you're looking at? What is it for, RFP for what?
We are looking at an RFP for the EBT consultant, which currently is Dave Stewart's position. And we rebid services all the time, so it's that time we're going through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell me, how do we pay the consultant? Does he get money directly from us, or does it come out of the insurance we purchase? How is that handled?
Are they going to address that? Did you hear?
Sure. I think I got most of it.
Okay.
It's a combination of fees and commissions on reinsurance.
So currently, right now, we pay that off of commission on which agreement?
Oh, the commissions on the reinsurance. What I've tried to do over the course of the number of years that I've been your employee benefit consultant, I've tried to keep the costs in the range of 1.5% of annual contribution. And so between fees, like the Blue Cross and Blue Shield access fees, and also the reinsurance premiums that are paid, I get commissions off of that. And then I get, right now, I get a fee from Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And you all need to make a decision really quickly here, because you got to figure out how you're going to pay me. Because if you're going to pay me the same manner you're paying me now, I'm going to try to keep it in that 1.5% of annual contributions. If we go to this contract and you sign this contract, it's going to be on a per employee per month basis, and it'll be pretty close to the 1.5% of annual contribution. I just back into it and keep it at that particular level. But if I go out there and get quotes from all these insurance carriers, and I get quotes from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Network Access, and I get all that stuff put together, and I do it without any fees, then there's no way to get me paid. That's why it's important that this either get done now, or you push it somewhere else later.
I think the goal, right, is to be, Mr. Murray, the goal is to be done, or have a selection by July 1st, right, so that it would follow.
Well, but okay, how are you going to accept the reinsurance contract if there's no commissions in it? And how am I going to get paid then, or whoever else might get the contract? How are they going to know what they're going to get paid?
I think we just need to finalize this.
Right now, all the RFPs have gone out because of this. I anticipated this being back already, or pretty close to being back already. And I was hoping to be awarded the contract, obviously. And so everything gone out with no commissions or no fees. The life insurance, the reinsurance, everything's gone out, and Marcia saw it. She saw it in the RFP she asked for, and I sent it to her. It all says no commissions.
Yes.
So the numbers that we're hearing are between 1 and 1.5% of the total
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
He's saying that
contributions.
it's currently 1.5% of annual contributions.
Correct.
So
That's why I try to keep it in.
So my question is, are we able to see what those dollars are that represent that 1.5%? Or we just take it for granted that that's what it is? Or if we see the actual dollar figure that the trust has paid?
Well, hold on a second here, Dave. This is another agenda item, so I think we can address it in here. Right now, this would be sending the RFP out. So I think they would have the option of submitting how they want to be paid in the RFP in their response. So we can address that in a later agenda item.
So right now, what we're discussing is we're going to postpone making a decision on this drug RFP until we can review it and get it back to October.
So do we want to wait till May 17th, or do we want to do it earlier than that? And so we'd be ready for May 17th.
Mr. Murray, would you want changes that trustees would like sent to you, or would you like that sent to me?
I'd like it sent to you, and then if you can send that to me.
And then compile it. So if you see any changes that you want included on this, please send it to me within a week, and then we'll look at it. I'll put it, get that together with mine.
Okay.
And then we'll have it ready for the meeting in May.
By next week?
Yes.
Okay.
So within 7 days, email those, and then I can get that ready to be approved at the May 17th meeting.
Okay.
And send to you.
Yes.
Good.
All right, we'll move then to agenda item 3.5, which was concern that certain medical conditions need to be addressed more diligently. Dave, can you just give us some clarification on this agenda item?
Yeah, the last trust meeting when we were going through the history, Marcia said that there was some medical conditions that needed to be addressed more diligently or aggressively, and I'd like to know her thoughts on that so that we can maybe attack that.
Which ones it was? Okay, so, Marcia, do you want to expand?
And as I had said previously, when all of the information that we're getting as far as the types of services, the types of conditions, diseases, all those different things that we're looking at, what we're getting is information from Billsbar, which are just claim numbers, and then we're getting information, we're getting a recap, if you will, from Cerner, and it's not an apples to apples comparison. There's no way for us to compare those things, and that's why I had asked for CPT codes and diagnosis codes from Cerner and also Billsbar so that we could compare. The biggest thing that I saw was that there has either been no change or some deficits, if you will, or declines in hypertension and in musculoskeletal, the obesity, the BMI for our group has, it's still, and it depends on which document or which data you look at. One of them says that we have an average BMI of 27 for the entire population of our district, when the United States is 60% overweight or obese. And then there's another study or piece of data that says that the BMIs average over 30. So I just was trying to figure out how can we better identify, are we addressing the diabetics, metabolic syndrome, and how that relates to obesity, how it relates to hypertension, because it's all connected. And the numbers, even if they were stable and we were addressing them, we should see some kind of improvement. And because we're looking at two different documents and trying to compare that data, it's very, very difficult to do that.
So what are you wanting to have to compare? Because Gillsboro's not gonna have anything like that to compare. And
Well, actually, they do. They have CPT codes and diagnosis codes, and they've been very happy to provide those.
Okay, so then what did you see when they provided it?
Well, I'm waiting to
But
get,
I think Marcia's absolutely correct. The Cerner doesn't track CPTs. They don't track any of that kind of stuff so that you could actually go out and say, okay, let's tie the CPT code, diagnosis code from what Gillsbar has with what Cerner has. They don't track it that way. But that is a default. You're absolutely correct. And I'm not sure how to marry the two together.
well, their agreement says that they do. And so they, on the report that they give us, it shows us how many visits they have that are 10 minutes long, 15, 20 minutes long, that kind of thing. And then, but in the agreement, and I think in one of the previous minute notes that I read, they have some way of tracking and identifying the types of procedures that they're doing. And I guess that's what, I just think that it would be great to be able to see those and compare them and see if we can figure out, why we're not making any inroads in some of these diseases.
I guess my question, Dave, would be, would there be any way for us to tell a claim from Gillsbar is actually someone who uses the center or doesn't use the center? I don't know how you're going to compare those. If there is a way to do that or not.
I mean, I go every now and then if I look, excuse me, if I get a claim around and I see somebody on there with a big claim or a particular diagnosis or something, then I will go to Cerner and just ask the question, is this one of your patients? I don't disclose anything, I just say, is this one of your patients? And if they say yes, then I start digging into it a little deeper and I get over our utilization review company and get them involved to see, okay, is there something we aren't doing that we should be doing? Is there a different way to treat this? Is there a different method? Is there a way we can save money? A recent example of that was with an individual that was getting a outpatient prescription drug done every 3 months at about $60 grand a month. And so based on the call that I got was on that subject from American Health Group, went back and found out a way that we can not only get it done on an outpatient, or excuse me, at the home, but drop the cost by about 75%. So yeah, we're doing all we can to reduce the cost to the trust of those kinds of things. Those are things that y'all don't see on a day-to-day basis, but are happening because of the way the trust is being managed. But then there's other times when it is what it is. I mean, we've got an individual that's using a prescription drug that's costing over $300,000 a year, and there ain't a whole lot we can do with it.
I'm misunderstanding the question now. Because my question is, if I go to see Laura, does Laura input data so that Gillsbar knows that I went to go see her and that I went for, diabetes or whatever? How would they know that?
No, Gillsbar doesn't.
Okay, so then how would we be able, we couldn't compare that, we wouldn't have that same data. It goes back to Marcia's question.
It would have to come back from Gillsbar. We would have to go to Gillsbar and say, okay, for so-and-so, I want to see all the claims, and then send those over to Cerner to see if the patient's being treated that way, because Gillsbar or Cerner doesn't send any claims in. They don't file claims.
Right. So, but I haven't had to put any claims in for Gillsbar for 2 years because I've been relying on my primary sitting behind me here. So Gillsbar doesn't really even have data on me for the last
They have, but there is data collected in their record-keeping system on the diagnosis that they treat.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
So they would
We
know
have the same
from,
kind of information available.
they would know from Cerna that I at least was there and I had a diagnosis.
And it's not necessarily to compare the Cerner data to the Gillsbar data, but with all of it, it's all of them. It's everybody that's
Well, I
been treated.
think we need to, otherwise we've got 2 databases going on and we can't compare anything. So that's great. At least somebody's keeping track of all of it, but I agree, you can't compare apples, you know, you can compare apples when you've got this, you don't have the right coding system and all that.
Well, and it's just a matter of having all the information from both Gilsbar and Cerner so that we can see, we can address the diseases that we're trying to either be aware of and take some steps to make some progress in education and, you know, in effect. But again, without both of those, you know, being able to see that information, it's very, very difficult to determine if we're making any progress.
Right.
So you mentioned hypertension, diabetes, and BMI. Would that be 3 areas you would want Cerner to report back on their patients?
Yeah, those would be some that I would be looking at: hypertension, diabetes, BMI, metabolic syndrome, and hyperlipidemia and hypercholesterolemia. Those are the ones that affect most people.
Okay, and from Cerner's previous presentation, because they do break that up on those categories, would that not be the data you're looking at, or how would you want it presented?
I guess I'd like to see what's available, how they can give it to us, if they can give us numbers specifically on, you know, this many people were seen, if they were employer dependent, and, you know, the specific diseases that are being treated, and if there's been, because that way we can compare all of it, we have all the information, and we can see if we're making progress with all the information.
Okay, so Dave, let me ask this on, because Cerner does an annual report for us, correct?
Correct.
So would we be getting that annual report in June?
Yes.
Okay, so Marcia just mentioned several categories there. Could we have Cerner present on those categories?
Absolutely.
And why don't,
I'll send you the list of.
yeah, so then I don't miss anything on there. And then we'll just have them include that in their presentation in June?
Yes.
No, would you want any, that's on the Cerner side. Did you want anything on the Gilsbar side as far as the year end?
Well, I think, I mean, again, what I'm trying to do is just make sure that those kinds of diseases that, you know, throughout the U.S., it's obviously in our community as well, that we can identify, you know, which ones we need to be addressing, you know, more quickly than others, and what steps we can take to, you know, either help people to get better or recognize it and what the outcomes are. And so we need to have the information from both Gilsbar and Cerner.
Is there a way for us to have a report, Dave, just on when we see then our claims per category from Gilsbar? Is there a way to break down the amount of money, those that were patients at the clinic and those that are not?
No. Because remember, Cerner doesn't file a claim.
Okay, so we will just
It's all wrapped up.
yeah.
It's all wrapped up in the monthly fee. Everything they do is all wrapped up in the monthly fee. It doesn't make any difference how many times they've seen them, what they've done while they're there. It's all wrapped up into the one fee, the monthly management fee that we pay to Cerner. They do not file anything with Gilsbar whatsoever.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on that item? Okay, and then, Dave, the next items on our agenda are what we bid out for prescription TPA services, utilization review, preferred provider network services, our employee assistance program, life insurance and vision services. I would like to table those until the May meeting so that you would be able to present the bids to us.
Okay?
And would you be able to send those prior to the meeting for the trustees to review?
Yes.
Okay.
And how much information would you like to see? Normally what I do.
Yeah, normally that spreadsheet, just that spreadsheet that breaks down the services and the bids. And I think if we have more detailed questions from there, I'll ask.
I'm just gonna, I have to say this, it's incumbent on you to
Because
look at
obviously-
everything that comes in. It's part of what you should be doing.
All these kinds of quotes come in from the life, they come in from the voluntary life, they come in from the TPA, and there's several TPAs that will quote, there's several reinsurance carriers will quote, and normally what I do is put them into an Excel spreadsheet, categorizing, line items, the name of the service to the left, and then everything to the right is bids that have come back in from the various organizations. If you want to see complete details of those quotes, you'll have about 1.5 foot stack of material to go through.
But it could be sent
What would
electronically.
what would you like to see?
Well, I guess my feeling, and I mean, you guys can speak for yourself, but if I'm responsible for making a decision on something and all I have is the bottom line, I don't feel like I can make an informed decision. I don't know what I'm looking at or not looking at. I don't know what I'm missing if I'm not getting all of the detail. And that might be a silly comment, but, I want to be responsible for the dollars that we're spending. And if all I get is, we pay a $52,000 management fee, I don't know what that is, and I don't feel like I'm.
Well, that one's not on here.
That was just a other place. But my point is that without the detail, it's hard to make a clear impression or educated decision. And if it's electronic.
Okay, can I ask a very selfish question then? If I'm going to prepare a stack and a half of material for each one of the trustees and any other board members that want to look at it as well, that's not part of my contract, and I want to be able to charge fees for putting all that together.
Well, I think we would just do that electronically.
Right. That solves that.
So I get to scan them all and send them to you, and you guys get to print them out.
Well, can't you get them electronically from the vendors, Dave?
Again, then I send them to you, and you guys print them all out.
Or not? I bring my tablet.
All right.
I mean, it's up.
I don't mind getting all of those proposals, but I would like to see the executive summary by service. And that's what we would pay Dave to
That's
do.
what he's consulting for, yeah.
Right, no, I agree with Mark. And I understand what Mark's is saying too, give some of the detail, but if he gets a proposal from 2 or 3 different vendors, and we see the comparisons right there in summary, it's a lot easier to go through it, but as long as you know what we're looking at, I think that's what Mark's is getting to.
We can have both.
That's the answer.
Right.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, so we would like to have the
Spreadsheet.
spreadsheet presented and to us to review prior to, along with the bids themselves, Dave, and electronic. Yeah. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to know if they can tell us how manufactured drug rebates are accounted for the medications that our people are using. In other words, the third-party administrators get rebates based on formulary medications, sometimes up to 80 or 90%. So we pay the full cost of the negotiated rate, but then at the end, the third-party administrator gets a rebate through the back door, and that's how they're making most of their money.
Ours is a nonprofit, and those are redistributed to us.
Do we have a record of how that happens?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I guess we can see it.
And we have records of the actual checks that come back and then deposited into the trust.
So So we are going to table from 3.6 to 3.12. Okay?
Can I go back to 3.12 just a second, please?
Oh, yes.
There was a request for the agreements for the new vision opportunity for 7-1. And since we decided to go and do an RFP for all those services, that's a moot point at this point. All that will be presented at the May meeting, which will include all those charges, all those agreements, and all those fees. And we have several quotes on a vision plan, so those will all be rolled into that, and everybody will be able to see what is being offered, because nothing has been signed. It was just proposed and approved, but since we've already sent out an RFP on everything, I don't think there's any need to be looking at anything until we look at it all in May.
Yes, I agree. Any further comment on that? Is that okay? All right. Okay, moving to agenda item 313, review and approve purpose of gathering data and how the trust would like it presented. I know we discussed this a bit at the last meeting at the request of several of the trustees that we get the reports a week ahead of time to review the health plan analysis and those items. And we did that at this meeting as best we could with Dave. Are there any other suggestions in there as to help improve our process?
No, I think what we started to do today, I thought works. I want to get all the reports in advance and have them information on them, because I really don't want to come to a meeting and we go line by line, page by page, when we should have been reviewing that a week ago, ahead of time. It should be, here's the information, any questions? Done, let's move on. That was kind of what I
The gist of that,
yeah.
okay. And I think that's what we're gonna do with the RFP, to the benefit consultants to kind of use that process. We'll submit it and then have it ready to go.
There you go.
One other item I did want to mention on here, because the trustees do have a binder now of the minutes and things for us to review that was put together and very much appreciated, because that's a good resource for us to have that all together. So I'd like to thank Nicole for doing that. Anything else on this item? All right, then moving to 314, documentation of annual pay for the EBT consultant. They already prepared today to present that documentation.
As I mentioned, my agreement, and I can send a copy of the agreement that was signed by Cinda that shows the 1.5% of annual contribution that I've tried to hold it to, and I've gotten that from, like I say, a couple of different sources within the trust, and I'm more than happy to share that, and it certainly is not what some people have indicated that it is, but certainly I'm happy to share that, and I'll be happy to give you a full accounting of that in our meeting.
Okay.
So you're going to
He's going to provide
send it now and then we'll
Just send it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Send it
Before the
in.
meeting. Okay.
Yeah, and you could send that to the trustees a week prior.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I will include that on the table item. All right, 3.15 is to approve formation of committee in conjunction with the school board to review the trust document and further develop its policies. And then hopefully get an update maybe on time and place or how that's being set up or arranged. I know this was discussed at the school board meeting, which I wasn't able to attend. So, Nicole, would you like to speak to that first? And can I give us a background on that, how you formed that at the school board meeting?
I don't remember. I think
I can.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't know who was
We did agendize for our board to appoint 2 members to a subcommittee that would also work with 2 members who would be appointed by the trustees here and would review the trust document for all of the different suggestions, possible clarifications, edits, etc., before having the attorneys look at it, which was the recommendation at the last EBT meeting. That came at the recommendation of the attorneys because they felt that it would be better for us to jointly agree instead of keep coming back and asking questions each time the document was reviewed. And then once we agreed, then it would go to the attorneys and save a lot of time. So the request was that the trustees today select 2 members to be a part of a subcommittee if you agree that that would be the way to go.
Did you discuss any type of timeline?
We did not. It was as soon as possible. We were waiting to find out, first of all, if the EBT board was approving that, and also we did appoint 2 trustees, 2 of our governing board members to that committee, should it be established.
Is there a way that we can get to this document? I know somebody has it.
It's on the website.
Right.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
On the website, thank you.
I'd be willing to do that, and I think I'd look at Marcia and see if Marcia might be willing to do that too. She's got a lot of background, and I've gone through it. When I first came on the board, I went through it, and I know I made some questions and comments on it. I don't have a problem going through it again, unless anybody else wants to.
I could, yeah. However, I also may like to look at that. One of the first things question that I brought up when I was elected chairman was what are my roles and responsibilities? And I think the trust document and further policies that need to be developed would directly apply to my responsibilities. So I would also like to kind of sit in and review that. So I think we need to kind of decide who are.
If you want to sit in, I'll step out. That's fine. I've got plenty to keep me busy. I figured it'd be tough trying to get someone to volunteer, quite frankly. But that's fine with me, Carrie. And I'll just go through. I'll go through it again. And if I have any other comments, I'll just.
You can certainly provide input that I can take.
I think that's good. And who on the school board's going to do it?
That would be Mrs. Cohen and Mr. Massa.
Okay. And then anybody else? I mean, just those 4. Yourself, sure. Okay. But certainly, the document is on the website.
Yeah.
And if anybody here wants to review that document and provide input to the appropriate person, they can certainly do that too.
That would be appropriate to provide input to this subcommittee members, yes.
Correct. So there's 6 of them, so you know at least one of them, if not all 6.
We have a motion?
I'll make the motion to appoint Marcia and Carrie to the subcommittee.
Pat seconds.
Paul Christensen,
Yes.
Pat Rooney,
Yes.
Marcia Cox,
Yes.
Mark Nixon,
Yes.
Carrie Thompson.
Yes. All right, we are to 3.16 was to review and approve medical rates for 2017-18. Dave, I would like to table this to May to make sure that we can get information to the trustees to review from Gills Farm because, but can you just give us some background on where Gills Farm was in this process in creating this?
They came back and made a recommendation that I then folded into the current rates, and also based on the school district's approval of a rate increase. I went in and folded that in as well, and I put a chart together for that, and based on the fixed expenses, the claims, and the center and all those kinds of things, I put some numbers together. But in that process, if you all recall, one of the questions that surfaced in our discussions there was, what if we folded prescription drugs back into the stop loss, both specific and aggregate? And that's been worked on or being worked on, and I just got another quote, if you will, yesterday on the subject. So that's going to have to be looked at to see if it makes sense. Is it more economical for us to throw that back in and have a higher spec or a higher premium for the spec and or higher aggregate attachment point? Does it make economical sense for us to fold the prescription drugs back in rather than self-insuring the prescription drugs rather than self-funding? And so I have to take a look at that. Like I said, just got another quote in yesterday that I haven't had a chance to really review just yet. And I'll have that on the meeting. But it looks like carry the 5% that the school board approved should be enough to carry us through for the 2017-18 school year.
Okay, and then a couple meetings back, I had asked Gills Bar when they did this review or analysis to look at specifically dependent coverage because there was a spike on it. Could you have them report back to us exactly in their actuarial report how they got to the rates that you're seeing?
I will ask them again. They've indicated that it is what it is, but I'll ask them again to be more specific.
Okay, could you ask them where?
If you look at some of the rates out there in the real world, you're under what they are in the real world. So I think that it's just a matter of, okay, can you identify a certain group and say, well, they have less claims, let's charge them less premium? And then, of course, you have to then take that premium or that savings, if you will, and throw it somewhere else, i.e. the employee or the spouse. So it's a group product, it's not an individual product, and so they throw all that in the mix when they make those rates.
Okay. It would just be good if they could report how that was determined.
Okay.
Any other comments that way? All right, so we will present those at the May meeting also. Maybe you can speak to this next agenda item, Dave. 3.17, the email and data gathering protocol and protection of proprietary information. What was that again?
I would like to recommend to the trust that if any of the trustees want to have any information provided to them, that they go through Carrie first. They send it to Carrie so that it comes from one source, Carrie being the chair of the trust, has complete authority to then ask that question, and we can go out to the various organizations and get the information, rather than a trustee or two trustees or three trustees going out and asking for that information from the vendors. I don't care what questions it are. I have no problem with the questions. I would just like to go through Carrie as the chair of the trust and not directly from one of the trustees. You're going to ignore it, but that's my recommendation.
I think there's a a simple solution to what he's referring to. If he would just provide a copy of every contract that the trust is engaged in, then nobody would be looking for anything from the vendors. But this district office still does not have a copy of every single contract that they are engaged in at this time.
Okay, so which contracts are we missing? And this is a good reason why I guess it goes through me, so that I know what it is, because I do agree with that statement. I just need to know which ones they are.
Every contract except for Cerner and RX, I have not had I don't have a copy of.
Yeah, every contract.
Every contract, yes, every contract.
The one that has the signatures and.
So, can signed contracts be sent to the district office?
And executed, sorry.
Sure.
And carbon copy through me?
Sure.
So that's the main, is the signed contracts as of now. That's
executed.
What we want to have. And currently you have Cerner and
Wisconsin RX.
No, we have Center, RX, they have Gilsbar, they have Emeritus. I was requested to send in Unum, get that pulled together and sent, but I don't think it's any different than the one Mary has in her hands now, but I'll make sure and get that to them as well.
What we're
No
asking
problem
is the executed.
getting those contracts to the district.
Not the coverage. The executed contract, not the coverage policy, the executed contract. And the other one that is missing
The executed contract as
is the
well.
Kavanaugh, the long-term contract.
The business office cannot produce the contracts other than the Cerner contract and the Wisconsin RX contract at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so they're asking for the executed contracts, Dave, that we currently have out. They have Cerner and Wisconsin RX, so it's the other ones, including our law contract and.
They have a law contract, it was sent today, to the best of my knowledge. I think it's being sent today, but it hasn't been sent today, it will be. It's only when we would have it out here this afternoon. The only thing that they wanted to have was, to the best of my knowledge, the only thing they wanted to have was all 5 trustees signing the document, and that is not available because Colleen signed the agreement. And so that doesn't have all 5 signatures of the trustees on it. And it doesn't require all 5 trustees to have a signature on a document. By law, it doesn't require a signature at all. But Colleen did sign the agreement, and that is available, and I think was sent.
Okay.
So then the other question I've got, and again, I apologize because I'm out of the office, or have been out of the office with this medical condition, but in any event, with regard to the American Health Group contract, that should be forthcoming this afternoon. I received updated contracts and accepted from the current vendor, and I'll send those over. So hopefully by the end of the day or first thing in the evening, all the contracts will be in the district office for review.
Okay, so do you think, if we want to put a timeline on that, do you think then by Wednesday next week?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so then I could check, Mr. Murray, is it okay if I check with you on Wednesday to see
Yes.
contracts are received?
Yep.
And then that information can be dispersed?
It'll be available here.
requested.
It'll be in the district office.
All right, so we'll put a Wednesday date on that, Dave.
Not a problem.
Okay, and then agenda item 3.18 is going to discuss the gift cards. Dave, do you want to do any background information on purchasing of the gift cards and what we have left? And
Well, I think Mary sent out a revised gift card status.
She did.
The gift cards were purchased when we were giving gift cards as incentives to do the health risk appraisals and to do the wellness examinations. And so we ordered what we thought was sufficient to take care of the awards. There were a few left over. They're being held in the safe. They do not expire. And so I think the theory was that, okay, when we had events such as the open house, or we had the events of, okay, we're going to have a meeting at the center to promote health and wellness, that if we wanted to incentivize the people to come to that, we would do a drawing for a gift card and maybe get a few more people there and a chance to get a gift card. And so that's what those were for. And I think what Carrie wants to do, and I think it's a great idea, is say, okay, trustees, do you have a problem with us handing out a gift card every now and then for an event, such as if you attend the EAP meeting, which talks about stress, and we do a raffle and we give out a gift card, are you okay with that? Or how else do you want to dispense of those particular gift cards?
And on the spreadsheet, so you see what he's talking about, there are 18 $100 gift cards remaining and 8 $25 gift cards remaining. So.
And those cannot be returned. We already asked that they can be returned. American Express says, no, they can't be returned, but they don't expire.
Can they be taken to a bank and cash?
I don't believe so.
No. So we paid for gift cards that we paid a fee for that we can't get a cash equivalent for.
Right, but in the big scheme of things, $1,800 is not a lot of money. And if we have them, they can't be redeemed. And according to this bill, they're super security, so no one can get them. I certainly don't have a problem with allowing whoever would make that decision. If you have a meeting and you want to raffle off a couple of them, we got them, we have to use them. Let's get them back out to the employees. That's just my opinion. Unless you want to go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. There'll be 3 of them left and you can divvy up those. That's not a motion, by the way, Jerry.
No, I think though, here, if it's okay with the trustees, we just want to have a motion where it has approval. So if we're offering an incentive or a health class or our open house, that we have authority to use the gift cards as a prize or an incentive for attendance.
I would make that motion, and who would be in charge of that? Would it be you, Carrie, as the chair? I would make that motion and have Carrie be in charge of it as the chair of the trust.
And I, of course, will pass on the information if it's being used.
Sure,
You're
very good about getting information out to us, and I think that's it's a good incentive.
Second.
Second. Marcia Cox?
Yes.
Mark Nixon?
Yes.
Al Christensen?
Yes?
Pat Mooney?
Yes.
Carrie Thompson?
Yes.
So we have a route for all the attendees here. Say thank you for coming.
All right, on agenda item 3.19, we want, as a trust, to begin to discuss what we want the future of the WOW program to look like. Little background on this, it will, it has been taken out of our contracts as being a mandatory, I guess, participation in that. So there will no longer be the portion of the premium that employees would be required to pay without attending those. So the discussion needs to be, because starting July 1st, we need to kind of decide where we want to go with our wellness program and how do we want Cerner to establish it. And do we want, I don't know financially if we are in the boat of even offering any incentives or having something else correlated with that, but this is on the agenda for discussion.
I'd like to ask the employees out there, would you not have participated had you not been offered a carrot to participate? Or is your health incentive enough to participate in the wellness program? That's my question, is I would think that if you want to be healthy, and this is a program through the wellness program, or through the center, that why would you not want to participate in it? And I know this is a dead horse and it's semantics, but I still have had a problem with using the term penalty, because my understanding of it was that you were rewarded 10% by participating. And if you didn't complete the requirements, you weren't penalized, you just had to pay the rate.
That's not correct.
I had asked that repeatedly, and they said that if you participated and completed it, that your premium was like 10% less.
I don't know what year, because it's changed every
Okay,
year.
well then maybe it's, again, I've only been on the board less than a year, so.
And employees don't pay, so 10% of zero is what? Zero.
But then how, okay, the way it was explained to me, I'll let it go, but I just never saw it as a penalty. I saw it, the example I was using, that if I owed someone $1 and they said, if you pay me by Friday, it's only 90 cents. Well, that's a reward for me paying early. But if I don't pay you by Friday, I still owe you $1. I'm not being penalized. I owe you what I owe you. And that's my impression of it, that it was a reward for an employee by participating and completing this process. Your reward was a 10% less on a premium. Okay, I'll just let it go with that, so, Christy.
It wasn't because she's right, it doesn't necessarily come out, but initially, well, and it changed, as she said, but the incentive was, if you participated in the program and you completed it and you made your, you actually received a gift card that would have been $500, which was approximately 10% of what the district was paying in for premiums. So that may be where the approximately 10% is coming in.
Okay.
It has not specifically ever been what you
No,
said.
I appreciate that.
But I believe that may be where that could have come, or maybe been misunderstood or even expressed in that
Okay.
way. Then it changed to where the incentive was gone per se to get something out of it, but if you didn't participate, then the idea being that you're not working to be healthy, at least a little bit, then you would pay more. I will say that I don't know that I would have probably initially jumped right in without the incentive for the 500. My husband is not a fan of doctors, but he is going at least for that because of, the 10%. I would say though, I do think we would be, I guess I should say for me, one of my things has been that we do the pre, and then just a few months later we do the post. And for me, unless I happen to get in and get one of those 7 a.m. appointments, I have to fast all day. And for me, that was probably my biggest issue with it, was I did not, because unless I got that morning appointment, you have to fast for that lab. And so to me, that was one of my things. I felt like if we had another way to make it a little easier for employees to do those labs and not, because those 7 a.m. spots are coveted, I can tell you that. They're gone like that. And then it was, well, what day do I think I can do that? Or maybe I can hit that Saturday morning, So that would be one of the things, that was my hardest part, I would say from my personal perspective. So I feel that more people might be a little more inclined to participate if it was just, more voluntarily, if it was a little easier on that end. Didn't mind going in, I didn't mind having a conversation, we've talked many a time, I don't have a problem with any of that, but for me, it was just kind of annoying that I had to try to find a time I could fast do that. I felt it would be a little easier.
I think that we have a history now of the cohort group, or the center's been open for X amount of years. So the premise out there of a proactive health model as opposed to a reactive health model is out there. And knowing that with a 20% turnover, you've got new employees coming into the district, and they may be coming from a reactive type scenario as opposed to what we're looking to do at the center. I know that's difficult, and it would be almost like up to the cohort group to present to those new employees, we've got a really neat program here, this wellness program, but there is no carrot right now. It's just, other than your health is the carrot. So I just like to hear from participants in the program, either plus or minus. Like you say, the 7 o'clock, I can see that you've got 5 or 6 days a week, and that's how many appointments are that compared to the number of participants.
And I do think that we need to do, and I don't have a good answer for this. I usually try to provide a solution when I have an issue, but I don't necessarily have one, because money, of course, is an issue. But I will say, I do think and as Lori said, not only the having, it's harder to get in, for the times for labor, but also having to do the 2 back-to-back. Like you'd go in June, but then you also had to go back in. And the way it was set up, you would then go back in maybe 2 months later for your same one again to start the year.
Well, let me just kind of pause there
And I know that
comment on that, because I do believe that's been in your weekly calls with Cerner. Mr. Murray, so you want to talk about that a little bit, because we have talked about simplifying that and making it easier to turn place.
That is correct. A couple months ago, we started that conversation because a few of us felt that it was pretty, it was challenging, like was mentioned, to go in July and have to go in again, or go in June and have to go back in a couple months later as a to start the new year. So our conversation on those calls that we did have with Cerner was trying to go back and actually dial it back just a little bit to where we go in annually. So it will be a 1 visit. The last conversation we had was starting it in early July and allowing that window to be open until the end of October. And it would just be an annual window of opportunity to go in and perform the wellness and then the following year would be your post. But then it would also be your pre for the next year. We would look at that one set of data and measure it based on that annual visit.
And I did get to sit in on one of those weekly calls. I know that was a suggestion from Mr. Murray, and I think it's an excellent one. And I think that would be a nice way to help the employees, because that has come up several times. And I think
we worked the blood work so that if you went in a certain time, it was still good for the blood work, but you still have to go back in. I know, like Chrissy said, my husband, it was hard to get him to go back in after he just was there, because he works all day long, and the last thing he wants to do, or Saturdays are usually filled up. So it's definitely scheduling. That would help a lot.
I seem to remember that if you were into the doctor, had your blood drawn, that if it was within 90 days, you
could use that same
right.
blood.
That's
right. Use that same blood work within 90 days. You still have to go to the appointment. You didn't have to have the blood drawn. Didn't have to fast.
It may be an option also if you're only doing once a year, that you might not want to limit it just to try to cram everybody in within those 4 months. Maybe extend the date a little bit. That would give more of those AM appointments that are so desirable.
Because if they went in October, then they wouldn't have to go into the following October if we spread it out. Then it could be everybody at different times, and then it wouldn't be so hard to get in.
That's one issue. I think a lot of people I talk to is the wellness program taking up a lot of rapid appointments, spots.
Spots, yeah.
Especially for those 2 or 3 months. That's.
And I do think if we space that out, that would make that a lot easier. So maybe that's something, you know, with a weekly call, we can look at even expanding that.
December. Why would we have to?
Anytime.
Or any
Why would it have to be? Why
It
didn't it
just
just
even October, October.
The only thing is you don't want to stack up certain times, so, you know, maybe have a process for.
do like A through, you could do alphabet.
Or your
newsletters,
birthday,
birthdays,
how, you know.
or birthdays.
Yes. So there could be a process that we use to do that, to kind of evenly space it so that appointments throughout the year, because you know, in the schools it's flu season, you know, we all want to get in at the same time, and that kind of hits sometimes when WOW's going on, so maybe if we space that out, we could accommodate that a little bit easier.
Two main focuses that we're trying to focus in 2 areas. One is to simplify the process, and 2, to try to go back to more of an incentive-based approach and model. And we're just trying to figure out how that may work. It may not necessarily be like it used to be with the gift cards, but there's other ways to incentivize wellness and make it fun. So we're definitely in the beginnings of that conversation, and I think there'll be a point where it'll be open to suggestion from all of us who are part of this EBT as we pay into the system. But that's the focus, is to simplify it for us and to try to incentivize wellness once again. So.
And I would just suggest that if it's incentivized with money, that it has to be fair and equal, because I've heard too many people say, well, I gained 20 pounds and I still got my card. And my husband didn't get it because he didn't miss out on this, because I know it's so many things, but it was just kind of, I think, very subjective at times. So I think that needs to be definitely looked at.
This won't happen this next school year.
Right.
I think this next school year will be the time to actually try to make it to what it needs to be, make it effective, and make it meaningful for all of us. And I don't think if we move too quickly, we can mess it up and really frustrate people. We don't want to do that.
Madam Chair, I think, and Dave could probably talk to this and get back with some information, but when you're looking at wellness plans, you know, the ones that they started implementing and requiring in the ACA, there were 2 different kinds. There was one that's called the participatory and one's called outcome. And so that could be something that maybe Dave could come back and say, okay, if we do participatory, then that would be more fair and equal, so you're not looking at, you know, I gained 20 pounds and I still got my card and I went in and did all these things and didn't get it. Or is it, you know, the outcome where we're specifically targeting certain diseases? And there's a difference, and that should be something that should be discussed, and, you know, what that wellness, you know, benefit, the wellness program would be measured by, and what the, you know, the incentive would be based on.
Yeah.
Quick question. You know, the incentives are fun and great, but is it my understanding that the actuary will be looking at our use and everything? So that could be our incentive too, because our premiums would stay low as long as we continue to use it.
Yeah, and
Is
I
that
think
correct?
as we can kind of continually say, I mean, communication is the key, and knowing how self-funding works. I mean, we're all a part of our group. And to make it work, we need to make our own wellness program work, and we need to work towards that. And we need to help communicate that with all of our members. I think that's everybody's job.
Just to comment on Hal's question. I personally, Hal, don't feel like anybody needs to give me anything. This is my body, and I should be keeping it in good condition, just like you had a car and you're taking it in for tune-ups. Nobody's paying me to go take my car in for tune-ups. So I don't believe in the incentivized thing. I think you should market it as a benefit. This is a benefit that you're getting by working in this district. And man, we got to put a positive spin on it, because we've had it the last couple of years with a negativism, And we need to put it in a positive light, and then maybe if, we have some different results at the end. But, if we're trying to watch our bottom line and we're, and we are a self-funded group, which means we should be watching out for all of these things, and we are making those decisions together. I personally I don't need it. I want to go in and I want to be healthy and I want to be a part of this group and I want to be a part of a healthy group. And so I don't even.
You're doing marvelous.
Thank you.
But I know your mom and dad too, so there's genetics involved.
Yeah. Thank you also on that.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little echoing here, and I'm going to echo a little bit of what Marcia said. This is your plan. What do you want it to do? What do you want it to look like? Joanne's right too. It's one pot of money. Your salaries, your benefits, it all comes out of one single pot of money. And so when you look at this wellness benefit, not the center, but the wellness benefit, how does that get constructed? What are you wanting to pay for? And, you guys are paying for it as a staff. It's not the board paying for it. It's not, the governing board. It's not the trust board. This is your plan. You should absolutely have input in. Does everybody participate? Is it targeted? Is it coordinated with outside physicians? Is it solely at the wellness center? How does this work? How does this get constructed? What does this look like? And as long as you keep all that in mind, you're going to get exactly what you want. And the incentive is, this is part of your pay to have this. This is part of what you have as a staff.
That's what I was trying to say. Thanks, John.
I think people do react, not necessarily with the carrot in that regard of giving them cash. But if you tell people, and I don't know how much of an impact it makes, but trying to make a good point. I know a lot of people that I talk to would probably look more favorably on making sure they get their wellness stuff in, and maybe losing 3 pounds, and they know that it's going to have an impact on future periods.
Sure.
And I don't know, does that have an impact? Slash in the.
Yeah.
There is a way to do that. Think about car insurance. Good drivers get a discount.
Yeah.
Bad drivers, the rates go up. This is your trust. So there are always going to be people who say, wellness, I could care less. So one idea, and this is happening across the country, they pay more for their insurance because they're taking money away from those who participate. You said you want it to be fair and equitable. Fair and equitable means if you don't participate, well then you need to pay a little bit more for your insurance because these people are trying to do their best to stay healthy. And that is how your premiums ultimately get reduced because now somebody else who doesn't care about their health pays into the trust through a premium and you pay less. You might call it a disincentive, I call it equity.
But that's what we've been doing. If you don't participate, you've been paying a
But it's not
penalty.
really.
That's a participation benefit. That's a different thing. This is a syntax.
But I think going back to Minister Murray's point, I think this is a good process for us to look at over the course of the year and really make the WOW program workable, measurable, and get the communication out that, this is a benefit to us, and we need to develop that to help keep our premiums down as a self-funded group.
My comment is this, and Mark is absolutely correct. As I look at organizations, like I say, there's now dozens of startup wellness because of the healthcare reform law that was passed and that inserted wellness, that you had to cover wellness benefits at no cost to the employee, couldn't charge them a copay, and go in for their annual wellness examination and have no copay for it. There has been dozens of cottage industries pop up all across the United States promoting wellness. I mean, I get a new email, it seems like every week, about a new program, and they want to talk to me about this wellness program they have in place to help employees get well. And so, but Mark is absolutely correct. His example is spot on. And what I've seen, those who have implemented wellness programs across the country, long before even healthcare reform came about, is that if you don't have either a carrot or a stick, and it's mostly driven by stick rather than carrot. Some have started with the carrot, but have ultimately gone to the stick because it wasn't producing enough participation. But if you don't have one or the other, you'll only get about 30, 40, 50% participation. Whereas with the stick, you'll have the 70% participation, 80% participation, which the House Schools Employee Benefit Trust has appreciated over the last couple of years. So removing that all out of there, just know that your participation will drop to below 50% with no either carrot or stick. And like Carrie says, you can watch that, we can see how it works, and I'll almost be willing to bet you that you'll see your participation drop significantly below that 50%, especially in a school district where it's tough for the employees to just leave work and go get something done.
But to be fair, that's not going to necessarily increase or decrease health, just by.
And that's my 2 cents.
Correct, and I do think along with looking at participation rates, I think we need to look at claims and other
that's
data
why-
along with it.
Something Mark said kind of struck me, and that was that we need to have, are people trying to be healthy, or are they healthy? If somebody's got high blood pressure or a condition or something that they're working on, but they're not getting for 2 years healthier, you're going to ding them with a 10%.
No, it's all about the effort.
Right, and I think that was something that was lacking necessarily with the carrot, that some people maybe tried to get better, and I think we did have a pretty good success rate anyway, but the point is there's a lot of pressure there to actually achieve something rather than just drop.
Yeah, using your example, for instance, on high blood pressure. So it gets identified, but then, and let's say you've got 2 people, they both have high blood pressure. Patient A says, I want to do something about it, and so takes the medication. Patient B says, I'm not taking the medication. Patient B should pay more for their health insurance because it's hurting patient A.
I can see that as well.
Yeah.
And I think that comes down to education too, because there are a lot of people in the district now, we have so many new employees that don't even understand the concept of a self-funded trust. They don't get that. And we've had so many new teachers out there, I mean, we've been saying it for 20 years, but they're all gone, they're all retired. We need to re-educate, explain to them that. Explain that that person that didn't go and take that medication is helping our rates go up. So we all need to help together. We're in this together. This is our money, and we should be helping each other out with that. But that'll take a year to do. You take next school year and re-educate and put that positive spin on something. I don't know. I personally, we tout in the classroom positive reinforcement and not negative reinforcement. So that stick, I don't know, that stick comes out and people are gonna run. So let's keep things positive if we can.
At the end of the last meeting, we had a little talk out there that we could do it at a staff meeting. We could create some analogy, some game that we could do as a staff that would make them understand how the trust works.
It's just different than a regular insurance program. People don't know.
October, September.
It would be nice to see some wellness alternative to participate in other than the WOW program. The hospital, I know, has other methods that they use based on maybe what employees are buying at the grocery store. Different types, thinking outside of the box, because there are people that don't want to go to the wellness center.
And wellness programs by themselves are not necessarily identified as one particular clinic or center, that you can, you're only allowed to do everything as it pertains to wellness at one place. A wellness program is, we have all of these options, there's 5 or 6, pick 2, and then be tracked. And I mean, those are, but the program is, what are we gonna measure? Are we gonna measure how many people participate, or are we gonna measure what are the outcomes? And so that's one of the questions, again, going back to what are we gonna measure? And so maybe that's something collectively that, we need to find out, but then it's a matter of, if, like you said, if you prefer to use a doctor you've used for years or whatever, but you still have the ability to, participate in a walking class or do something, some type of a, commitment, and then that's measured over a period of time, maybe every 3 months or, maybe every year, then that's a wellness program. It's not a wellness, not that the Health and Wellness Center is not a wellness center, but it's not about the clinic, it's about the wellness plan.
Here, I suggest that.
So how do you, other than them participating, and that's a good question, Marcia. So how, beyond them participating in the walking group or the exercise class or some of those other things, how do you then determine if they're seeing their doctor, if their doctor says you have high cholesterol, you need to start taking this medication? And how do you measure that then, Marcia?
How would it be reported to us?
Well, at our wellness program, you decide what the measures are, and then what the ideal outcome is, or like Mark was saying, it's the effort, because there's some people with high cholesterol that, my family has a history of high cholesterol, it's never going to be low.
I think the question though was, let's assume somebody chooses not to go to the wellness center. Are they self-reporting? How does
Most of the time, in most situations that I've seen where, especially in outcome-based, where let's say, for example, we have a walking class, and part of the walking regimen requires people to walk down the island, but you have someone that can't do that. They're protected in that they can go back to their doctor and participate. Their provider has to attest to the fact that they're being monitored by them.
Let's say they were supposed to take a medication.
Well, again, if they are being treated by a provider, the provider would have to certify that that patient is being monitored by them to whoever's going to be managing the wellness program.
So that provider reports to whom?
I worked in a district where we had to have an annual physical. And it didn't matter where we went, there was a form that we had to have filled out. If you had your time that you went during the year, and your physician signed off that you had your physical and that you were doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then you could earn almost like professional development credits for the other kinds of activities that you participated in. If it was a cooking class or whatever, and you got your points, you were signed off for the year. I mean, it's different.
Dan's gonna be in charge of the whole
I mean,
thing.
I was in that.
We had $200,000 in preventive services that were paid through Gilsbar, and not, so somebody's getting preventive services somewhere else. And so it could be.
Could I suggest that we're not going to solve this tonight?
I agree.
Let me get Kathy.
I just suggest, a little while ago, we were talking about the employees themselves and the employee benefit trust and how to preserve that. But with new employees, I suggest that we think about the self-interest of those new employees, what will get their attention. And if we could create a brochure, a nice looking little brochure that shows if they use the wellness center as opposed to going to finding, first of all, try to find a primary care physician in this town that's going to be available in the next 6 months to you, and then paying a $55 copay to go there, and as opposed to going to the wellness center.
But
if they hold something, and
they can't charge for preventive if it's a preventive.
I know, I'm just talking about going to just getting, not anyone interested in wellness, I'm just talking about someone who goes to their primary, who's thinking of looking for a primary care physician, and then they don't go until they get sick, and then they don't have that person available because they don't have a doctor yet, and now when they go, they still have to pay some kind of a copay. It's not free for them to go by there and they can see the difference. Am I on the wrong track here, or?
No, I think it is very important to touch base with our new employees. We're gonna have a good group of them again next year, and
So what will get their attention is saving money?
right away, yeah, right away, if they know they have, one for me is access. It's so easy to access.
Right.
Like you said, like getting the general equipment in town is very hard to do if you don't have an established doctor. And let them know what the services are and kind of get that information out. That would certainly help.
As most of you know, I'm an employee of Cerner, and our wellness program, well, our health insurance is also a high deductible plan. So we do activities towards wellness that are then logged for points, which translate into dollars, that are put into our FSA and HRA accounts. So then, no matter, if you want to do these things, then money goes into your account, and it's a variety of activities, from having a physical to getting a mammogram to taking classes versus physical activities. You're logging your number of steps with your pedometer or what have you. So maybe that might kind of combine a little bit of those who are interested get the benefit and the two.
And I think those are things that we can look at and develop. Obviously, it's too late to create new plans or do things, for this next school year. So that would be like, in
And I don't know how the contract thing works, but obviously Cerner has that technology, if they can monitor for, anyway, I understand.
So can we make a recommendation, maybe people can send you a suggestion, we would talk about it?
Yeah, my question is not new idea. I just want to know what is the situation now, since it was not in our contract. We've been discussing new ideas, but is it still in place, or is that gone completely, or is there a deadline this decision is going to be made? That's why I've been asked, and I didn't know. And so since it's not in the contract, is the 10%, whatever we're going to call it, penalty there or not? That's what I was asking.
It is not there for next year.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
That's the question we have answered.
Okay, that's all I need, thank you.
It's a process.
Well, I think the unclarity is we signed our contract last year that had stipulation in there, if you don't participate this school year, you'll get a penalty on your paycheck next year. That's where I think the confusion may be, because it's not in this year's contract, but does that just cover us for the following year? Are we going to be charged July 1st if we didn't participate?
Right, right now.
That's the question for our board to discuss.
Okay.
All right. And then, okay, move to the next one.
Yes.
All right, Dave, do we have any appeals that we need to move to executive session for?
We do not.
Okay. So then we do not need to vote on appeals. We do have our next meeting date set for May 17th, 2017. One thing I just want to confirm with you, Dave, right now, typically I'd ask for the agenda 2 weeks, but it is 2 weeks is the meeting. So how soon do you think we can start getting the agenda together for May 17th?
I'll work on it first thing Monday.
All right, so do you think that you could have an agenda to me by May 7th?
Yes.
Okay. And is everybody okay with the May 17th date for the next meeting? All right, we'll do that.
I think I'll be back, I'm not sure yet. So I'll watch the polls.
Okay, and then our year-end meeting would be on June 21st. Does that look okay
Yes.
On everyone's calendar? Okay. Do we have any future agenda items that we would like to see at the May meeting besides those that were tabled by the trustees?
I have one. I guess first I want to thank Diana for sending us the information on open meeting laws and the videos. That was, I watched that video a couple times and that was great. That I think the video came from the Budsman's office.
Yes.
It prompted me to think through some questions and things about minutes and executive sessions and whatnot. And I gave you a copy. I actually wrote the ombudsman attorney and asked him some questions, and you have a copy of the response, and I would like to have that put on the agenda, that we can discuss the information that was provided.
And this was referencing executive session minutes, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any others? Anything? All right, and then, Dave, do you have any future agenda items that need to be addressed in May?
Not at this point, thank you.
And do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We will adjourn at 5:50 p.m. Terry. All right, and then Dave, I'll touch base with you.
Okay,
Thank you for calling in.
thank you for coming, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
The total was 271 signatures.
I grew up in Anthony, my family's up around Elmore, just south of that. It's basically part of the Wayne. It used to be a suburb.
Yeah.